All right, our first guest this week started out in choreography and has begun to make his mark in the world of acting. He's been in movies like Night and Day, Street Dance 2, and White House Down. And we got our first look at his role as Hawkman in the recent Flash and Arrow crossover episodes. And now you can watch him continue that role every Thursday on the CW's spin-off series, DC's Legend of Tomorrow. Please welcome Falk Hentschel. Falk, how's it going?
It's going really well. I'm really, really good and really looking forward to tomorrow.
Yeah, and when this airs, the first episode will have already aired. But every Thursday on the CW, our fans or our listeners will be able to watch it and DVR'd and on demand and all that stuff. If they didn't catch the premiere and if they didn't catch the crossover, I would recommend going back to Flash and Arrow and watching that. And before we get into Legends of Tomorrow, I did mention briefly off air that I found an interview of you and you were speaking quite fluent German, and you were actually born in Germany, right?
Yes, I was. I was born in East Germany and then went to Dusseldorf in the West and made my way to the States via London for a couple of years and ended up here about 13 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, I can imagine how different it was. Is German is that still your primary language, or has English kind of made its way, or do you kind of use both?
I mean, it is my mother tongue, you can say, but to get rid of the accent, I had a phase of 2 years where I just decided I'm not going to speak any German, not to my family, not to my friends, which they thought was really peculiar, and I got a lot of flack for it. But that's sort of like it, started to dream in English, and now I actually have an easier time expressing myself in English because I was fairly young when I did this. So it's my time. We have a lot of the emotions, like grown emotions, relationships. I love yous. All those were experienced the first time in English. So it's probably kind of similar to somebody growing up bilingual.
Okay. And you said you spent some time in London. That was where you did a lot of the choreography, right? For and like backup dancing.
Choreography and dancing. Like yeah, I was mainly dancing in London, and then started choreographing more when I moved to the States. But yeah, that's where it sort of started.
Are any of those? Would you put any of those as your favorite then? Since you've been, I mean, I haven't left outside of a brief stint on a cruise in Cozumel, Mexico, and a couple down in like the Caribbean. I haven't really left America, the U.S. So, is there one that you'd recommend over another if you're going over to Europe?
I love London. I have to say, London is such a cool city. I really, really enjoyed it there, and I was thinking of moving back there for a while before I really settled in here. But London Europe is full of wonderful places to visit. So I just say, if anybody has the time, take a couple of weeks and just do a tour of the big cities. But London is probably at the top of my list.
Yeah, it's on my bucket list.
I have a coworker of mine is actually leaving for 6 months to do a little trip around the world. He's hitting Chile and the UK and Iceland and Switzerland and a whole bunch of different places. So yeah, I'm so super jealous.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah. But moving back into DC's Legends of Tomorrow, I know, as I had mentioned before off air, Adam and I are definitely looking forward to the show. We're huge fans of Arrow and the Flash. Had you seen either Arrow or the Flash before you ended up getting the role of Hawkman?
I had seen snippets of it. No, I hadn't really been watching the shows. I was aware of them, and I actually had met with producers a few times on Arrow and Flash for other roles. It never really came through until now, but so I was aware, and I knew what it was, but I caught up on it, or I watched some episodes while I was shooting Legends to get familiar with the tone and what it's really like.
Yeah. Were you a fan of like the DC Comics universe beforehand?
Yeah. I mean, like every kid, I would say I was, I was a comic book fan, period. And, Batman, Superman, I read the comics, a lot of them. And I watched anything that was ever made on them, I would say.
Yeah.
I don't know that I'm an expert, but, I definitely was aware of the universe. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And, in your past, you've worked on some big production features, like I said, White House Down, And Legends of Tomorrow, I mean, I was watching outside of the trailers, I was watching a couple, behind the scenes type of things. It seems like it's not that far off from that kind of like a big production movie. Yeah,
we just have a lot less time and less money, but I think we've tried to accomplish a similar thing, and that made it really quite the endeavor. I mean, you'll see a big action sequence in there in the pilot that when I read it and then also got to set, I was like, this is impossible. We cannot do this in a couple of days. The little fight sequence that lasts, I don't know, 30 seconds or so in Night and Day that I did, we had 3 days of rehearsal and shot it over 3 days. So that's 6 days right there. Well, this action sequence is probably a couple minutes, and we shot it and rehearsed it and everything in 2 days. So that gives you an idea of the craziness that I mean, it's 8 superheroes with all kinds of CG effects with stunts that has to be captured and coordinated. So it's quite crazy.
Yeah, I mean, with Arrow was obviously the first to come along on the CW, and I don't think I got into that show until the second season. I went back on Netflix and watched it, and that was really cool because it was all, it was mostly hand-to-hand combat. There wasn't really any CGI or anything. So when The Flash came out, right, I was initially a little bit hesitant, but actually I thought the first and second season so far, The Flash might even be better than the first and second season of Arrow. So I'm really looking forward to, they've done it really well so far with the CGI. So I'm really looking forward to Legends of Tomorrow because it looks like it just ramps it up another level.
Yeah, it really does. It really does. I mean, I think if you're somebody for action, which obviously all the viewers will be, you're in for a treat, I think. And I think also it's nice that the show is built upon one another. Like at the TCA, I heard Greg Berlanti talk about it, and the producers, they've got to really practice and like slowly amp up the visual effects, the stunts, so they've created a system that they're not familiar with that they were able to utilize in Legend.
Yeah.
So we had a kind of a head start with the show that was really needed. I think without that, I think it would have been impossible to do.
Yeah. I mean, and not only that, as you had mentioned too, with Greg Berlanti and the rest of the production crew, I mean, they got off to a good start with Arrow. They got off to, an even better start with Flash. And, now they're experienced when it comes to this show. So, this third iteration of a show of theirs or a creation of theirs, you're getting in on that as well as parts of, Flash and Arrow as well. So you got to feel comfortable that, this is something that's going to be pretty successful right off the bat, hopefully, just like the other two.
Yeah, I mean, I think with that, I've learned just in general in my career, I just stay completely open, and all I really care about is that the audience enjoys it as much as I did.
Yeah.
But I think it's a fickle business, and I think we don't know what hits and what doesn't hit. So I try to just focus on the fun that I'm having while making it, and then I'm crossing my fingers that a lot of people have fun watching it.
Yeah. I know Hawkman obviously is a pretty iconic character, when it comes to the DC universe and Justice League. And I know I've read interviews and I've seen interviews with Stephen Amell when it came to Arrow and Grant Gustin when it came to the Flash. And, they had their worries and such, especially Grant, when it came to taking over those characters. Did you have any worries or reservations yourself when you found out you were going to be portraying Hawkman?
To be honest with you, no, not really, because I feel like there isn't much I can do about those worries. I got cast, so I got to somewhat trust the creators and their judgment that I'm right for it. Also, I think luckily for me, there wasn't really, there was one iteration on TV beforehand, but there wasn't a movie, a long-standing TV show that had the character or any shoes to fill that were prominently known in the world. So, we're bringing a comic book character to life, and I guess I have my liberties with it, and there's certain things, obviously, I want to do justice to what already exists. But in a way, I kind of have to say, look, I'm giving it my best, and we're creating something new out of what, has already been around. But, you can't work yourself up about it, I think. Otherwise, you just get nervous, and I think, that can be ignorance.
Yeah, I think it's Smallville had done a short thing a couple years back with Hawkman. But I mean, like you said, it wasn't anything predominant. It was, I think it was a couple episodes here and there, and it was a secondary character. And now you're going to be, portraying a main character in DC's Legends of Tomorrow.
Yeah, such an ensemble cast too.
Oh yeah, huge. I mean, 9 people.
Yeah, with Arrow and Flash, you basically, there's an ensemble cast there too. But the main focus, at least of the crime fighting and everything, is, the one hero. So it's going to be, and it's cool because we've been introduced to most, not all, but most of the characters so far. So it's going to be cool to see everybody kind of come together. And maybe I'm setting you up for a spoiler. Is there any chance, because your character Hawkman and it's Hawk Girl, right? Or is it Hawk
yeah.
Because I'm not overly
familiar with the Talk Girl.
I'm not overly familiar with the DC comic part of it, so I forget after just 2 episodes. But
it is Talk Girl.
So you guys, have been reincarnated several times. So is there any shot of your current selves running into past reincarnated selves?
No, I don't think it works like that.
I think that's not a spoiler. Like, I think there's absolutely the chance of that, and there's time. There's time travel.
Right.
Obviously, there's reincarnation. There's all kinds of opportunity to do that kind of stuff. Whether that happens or not, I would I want to leave that question open, and hope that that's the big draw of continuing to watch the show. And I think there's a lot of opportunity for all kinds of stuff. And then also there's Earth 2, right?
Yeah.
So, there's plenty of opportunity.
Yeah, and I didn't even think about that either. And that confused me for a second when you said that, Adam. I had to think about.
Yeah,
I had to think about that one too.
Yeah, it could get confusing.
Yeah. And I think with the time travel too, it leaves an open opportunity to meet several other people from the DC universe that we haven't even met or even thought of yet.
Oh yeah.
Throughout the run of this show. So,
absolutely.
I know one.
Absolutely, and I think.
Oh no, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm just going to say, you without spoiling anything, but I think you will see some people that you know from the universe, that you've heard of, and I think it's going to be really exciting.
Yeah. I know one thing that definitely stands out when it comes to, these shows like Arrow and Flash, to me at least, with these current reincarnations, is how awesome the costumes are. You have Steven, Steven's Green Arrow costume is really, evolved since the beginning. Grant's Flash costume has been pretty awesome. Even Brandon Routh's Atom costume is pretty awesome.
It's amazing.
I'm curious what your thoughts were the first time you had seen yourself in the Hawkman costume, because I think the Hawkman costume is pretty badass too.
It is very badass, and it was a couple emotions. First of all, just pure glee and joy to stand there and be like, I got my tailored, perfectly fit costume and helmet and mace, and it's like a kid's dream. Like I get to, just play around and have a team of amazing designers to tailor something perfect for me. And then also the next thought was, thank God they didn't just give me that cross, basically bare naked beside that little belt thing across the chest.
Yeah.
I was kind of like, well, what are they going to do? But I think it turned out really lovely.
Yeah, it's got to make you. It's almost got to make you feel like when you see yourself in that costume, like you really want to be a superhero at that moment.
You're like, I am. I'm like, I got a costume. It feels like Halloween. You just want to run around and caw all day long. Or something like that.
Yeah.
Was David Ramsey jealous at all because it took him 3 seasons to get just a helmet, and you came in here first episode, you're in a full wings and everything.
That is a badass helmet.
It is.
A cool
it really
helmet.
is.
And you know what? He's got the voice and everything. I think he's good to go. He's a super. He doesn't need a costume, and he's got one now. But yeah, maybe there was some.
Yeah, he's my wife. He's my wife's favorite character. I think she said several times if they ever kill him off for some reason that she's going to stop watching the show. So he's got that going.
Yeah, he's awesome. He's very cool.
But we'll let you get going. But we do want to make sure everyone listening watches DC's Legends of Tomorrow on the CW Thursdays at 8 Eastern. And although you're I guess self-described as social media shy, you can still follow Falk on Twitter at the Falk, which is actually a really sweet Twitter handle. So hats off to you for that.
Thank you so much. And I'm trying to be better at it. That's just my friends laughed at me the other day. And I did some hashtag that, probably nobody does. And they're like, do you get the concept of what a hashtag is? And I'm like, no, not really, but I try.
Hashtag I had cereal for breakfast.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm on it, and I try to do it justice. So yeah, follow me on the various outlets.
Yeah, we'll definitely point people in that direction. But Falk, thanks again for joining us, man. We really appreciate this, and best of luck with the show. We'll be watching, so hopefully we can get you on when season 2 rolls around.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me, guys. This was fun.
Yeah, sure.
And stick around. We will be right back with the showcast in just a few seconds.